Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very live Thursday live lessons. My name is Aldrine Guerrero. Joining me on camera today is Mr. Aaron, the voice. Usually just the voice, but now it's the face and the voice. Nakamura. Say what's up, Aaron.
What's up?
And the beautiful voice of Mr. Kahai, the legend for again. Say what's up, Kahai.
What's up?
So last week, we weren't here, so we had a not so live.
No, we were.
Oh wait, yeah, that's right.
That's
right.
The week before.
The week before. We weren't here, but last week we put up a special edition of Thursday Live Lesson, which talks about the story of Bandito Tyler. So if you guys haven't checked that out yet, please check that out. It's a good kind of insight to my songwriting, just songwriting in general, and just kind of composing things for the ukulele. So we talked a lot about that kind of stuff. But we are back this week, very live. So that was semi-live, semi-live. We did it one take, I guess.
We were alive.
We were alive.
No, that was from San Francisco,
I
right?
didn't have any new shirts. I wore the same shirt.
We recreated the set at San Francisco.
We teleported from San Francisco to Hawaii. But so how Thursday Live Lesson works is if you guys have any questions, we get them throughout the week or throughout the month or throughout the years and stuff, and we try to answer them as best as we can. The three guys here are all going to put our brains together and come up with the best answer as possible. So let's start this off. Kahai, give me a question.
This is from Jasmine.
Okay.
Well, first off, she said, thanks for making Thursday Live Lesson available on Apple Podcasts.
Oh, hey.
So she's been listening to it and learning.
Who's to thank for that? Who did that?
Oh, well, Kira is the one that uploads it, right?
I don't know.
Thank you, Kira, for uploading those episodes. Because I was like, I don't want to take, I can't take credit for that. I didn't do anything. I just talked in front of camera. Like the guys working behind the scenes, working very hard, deserves that credit. Let's give a round of applause. Yeah. So, it's Thursday Live Lessons. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, go check out Apple Podcasts and a bunch of other places that you can download podcasts at. You basically just need an RSS feed, right, in order to get those podcasts.
Yeah, and I think we have that on our site too, right?
Mm-hmm. So
like where you can get the RSS feed.
Yeah, if you're on ukuleleunderground.com on page, you can just.
I think it's ukuleleunderground.com/podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so you can have it directly into your computer. So that's awesome. So what is his or her question?
So Jasmine's question is, could you give some tips for getting started with live looping and discuss some of the theory behind it? What sorts of layers do you like to use? Finger picking, strumming, percussive, etc. Do you have any tips for dealing with songs that have different chord progressions in the verse and chorus?
Okay, I am by no means a looping expert and stuff. I rarely use loops, but I know how they work. I brought my looper in today because I was kind of looking at this question prior to today's episode. Excuse me.
We didn't hook it up.
We didn't hook it up. Yeah, we're like, I'll just bring my loop pedal, but we didn't think about that's an amp or anything so people can hear it. So this is a loop pedal that I use. This is kind of basic. This is a RC30. This is made by Boss. I love me some Boss pedals. Boss makes some really solid pedals. Like they might not be as fancy as some of the other ones and stuff, but Boss pedals are just built tough. On stage you can kick them around, and because you're gonna step on them, they're going to get beaten up. So Boss, very reliable. This is kind of the next stage up. There's one even more simple than this, where it's just one half of this basically. Half of this is two. So these two buttons, this one right here on the left is the actual record and play and all that good stuff. So this is your main, the main pedal that you're gonna use with this, or main button that you're gonna use with this pedal. The one on the right is a stop. You just kind of stop the loop, and you can hold it down and delete the last loop that you did, or you can hold this down and then press this to delete the whole thing. Okay, so those are basically just the basics of looping. Like if you press this once, it'll start recording, and if you press it again, it'll stop recording, but it'll keep it'll restart the loop. So from wherever you first pressed it, when you press it again, it'll replay that. For those people who don't know how loopers work, that's basically what it is. So if for example, if I'm using it on my ukulele, if I press if I'm playing gonna press it right here at beat 1. So boom. That's kind of, and then I press it again right there at beat 1. So that's kind of the trick, is you need to kind of press it where where you want the loop to start again, where it's gonna loop into a nice let's say in a I'm trying to think of the word,
kind of a continuous loop.
Continuous loop. Like so, if
you have to keep that in mind, right?
Yeah, if you press it at beat 1 and then you press it at beat 2 and it repeats at beat 1, it's not going to be consistent because you're going to have beat 2 twice.
Yeah, so it's kind of like with that you were playing the chords with
G and C
and C. And you're gonna go back to G, so right here.
Right, that's where I would start the loop. And then the loop would kind of just start again, and it would loop that G, C over and over and over again from where I started and ended the loop.
Yeah.
So I like
like if you had a 4-chord pattern, you would go through all 4 chords, and then right when you were coming back, then you would press the loop pedal, and then it would repeat them, infinitely.
Or you wanna think about like what things you want to keep happening over and how much, right? Because like there are like patterns where even though it repeats, you probably want like 2 bars or something.
That's
just
true. That's true. Because like the line maybe or whatever
something happens, or like there's just little things you do. So like that can be another thing about the layers, right? Adding layers.
Yeah, you gotta kind of think about what you're going to record in the future. And make sure that there's enough space for that. So like, so if you're doing GC and you think that it's just that, but maybe the drum or the kind of drum sound that you're doing is longer than that, you have to make sure that you have enough space for the longer.
Because that's maybe like what 1, 2, 3, like 8 bars, G and C, but if your drum loop or if like the drum beat that you want to do is 16 bars, for example,
or you want to add a fill right at the end, or something.
That's a good one.
Then you gotta do the regular beat for that much, and then right at the end do that, and then the loop will start again.
An example, when I play solo, I like to play this song, Breezin'. So Breezin' has a 4-chord pattern. So that's it.
Okay.
I was holding it too long. I would do it twice instead of like trying to restart it on C major 7 again, because there's the riff that goes. With the song, that goes every other 8 bars.
So if you
16.
So if you try to strum that for me. So imagine if I did the loop and Aaron is playing that loop.
So you try it.
So I'll keep it going for one more. And then I would kind of step on it again, and that's what you would hear. And on the second run, I'm gonna do da 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 da. Because I don't want that to keep kind of going. So now when I do, that's when it goes. But I don't want it like continuously playing, so I give myself what?
Can you show it if you did like just loop, like?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because I'm trying to do like 2 things. I wish I brought my
or like can Aaron keep playing, and can you just show like what it would, because it wouldn't have that pause. Like that's what I meant.
So it would just sound like.
Which it's not bad sounding, but in the song you do want that.
You want a space for one
so when you play it, that's kind of when it comes in, like when the phrase ends. So you want to make sure that you have 2 kind of go arounds on the C, A minor, D minor, G. Now those are the basics, and they were asking like what kind of layers that that I would put. I'm a guy who loves layers, and when I do my solo shows, I have like 12 by the end I have like 12, 15 layers going on. I have like the strumming pattern. I might have like one that goes like and then I'll have like a harmony of that, and then I have a harmony of that going. So I have these three things. Oh, I really wish I brought my amp now. I have these three things that like I'm kind of looping like over and over again until this big thing at the end, and then I'll just like kind of stop it abruptly and play like, and then that's kind of how I would end it. That's how I play Uke on a Stick live, like by myself. I'll play a D minor, C, B flat, A7 for the chords, and I'll just loop that, and then I just do my thing. Just pick away. But my suggestions for layers would be to have some kind of percussion thing. Okay, so percussion, very 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 important. But if you're playing as a as a soloist, you want it to kind of seem like seamless. Like you don't want it to be too obvious. Like if I go, and then like I stop playing, and then it just goes. It's like it's playing in the speakers, but I'm not doing anything. So the audience automatically you're taking it away because like, okay, well he's using a pedal, like to kind of do that. But if you're doing like and then you do that, and then you do something else, like the less you do, the more obvious it's gonna become. I actually do not I don't want to like say bad or mean things to different people looping, but I'm not a big fan of people like who will take like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, like just to set up the loop, and then like and then they'll start singing, or then they'll play the main melody line. Like if you're not getting to the melody line within like the first 30 seconds, like then I think it's gonna be kind of, it's bad. I think it's kind of bad.
I think there's people who know what their loop is gonna be already, and like that's what they're just like, okay, I'm building to that, right? Yeah. So I can play my song. I just want to get there so I can play my song. But then there's other people who use it as like, oh, let me figure out what this song is gonna be, what I can add, and like kind of if you're performing, like that might not be the. Like I like doing that with a loop pedal too. I like experimenting, but when you're performing, it might not be the best time
for the performance.
It has to be seamless. So if there's no picking pattern in the in the beginning, it doesn't make sense to like to just play just the chords and then loop it and then wait until it comes around again. Like you can play the chords if the if the chords are part of your verse or whatever, then just play that. And it just kind of starts singing and loop that those verse chords, and then like once it loops again, just play it again, play something else while you're singing, so at least the song's moving forward and it's not just like you're creating all these loops before the song even starts. So that's kind of my big gripe about people who kind of do loops. Like I don't like. There's some people that just kind of start it and then they'll step and then they'll just kind of like listen to themselves, like feel it out, that kind of thing. Like that pause. As an audience member, it is like the most boring thing because that's just kind of them like, man, I did such a good job with this loop, and it's like, no, just keep doing things, And
I think like some people who use loop pedals, they think, oh man, wait till they hear the final loop, it'll be so impressive. But it's like the audience doesn't know that they're just waiting
3 minutes in, It's like,
but then that's why the people who are really good at it, they can do it kind of like
it'll just sound like a song.
A song naturally builds, so they create the loops or like the layers as the song builds,
the song's progressing,
and then they can kind of like cut it down or bring it up, bring it back whenever the song kind of calls for it.
I was gonna say
that's
like
a lot of planning you have to do.
Or I think the way I think of loops is like you already have the end product in mind and you're kind of building backwards, right? So it's like you're deconstructing it and then going like, okay, so first I need to do this, then I need to do this, then I need to do this.
Yeah, but if you're performing, it's also like you have to work it in a way that it's still
should
fun
be
for the audience and still.
Think about the audience, because I feel like a lot of the the loopers and performers nowadays and stuff, they don't really think, they're just so into their loop and their craft and stuff, like they kind of forget that there's an audience listening in, you know? Like if there's an audience listening in to say whenever we would cut records, or like whenever we're trying to record anything, you know, it would be super boring, right? Like because you're kind of seeing the production as like, okay, when's the actual thing. It could be like the best, you know, like the best song being created right in front of you, but sooner or later you're gonna get bored, you know, like you want to just hear just the song already, you know. So if we're talking what layers we're gonna put, I want to, you know, I would usually start out with, you know, with the strumming pattern, or with the chord pattern. I'll start with the chord pattern, and then I'll come up with some kind of beat. Or you can do it the opposite way if you want the beat first. But as soon as you end that beat, I would suggest like going say here's a trick that I like to use. I'm gonna start, you know, doing the beat, right? If that's my beat. Right, that's my beat. So I have that, you know, going on, and as soon as I press the I press the loop thing, it's just, there's no chords to it. So I'll set it so that by the next bar I'm strumming something. I'm not gonna wait like 4-8 bars until I start strumming.
For the loop to
come back around. It's like you can do it at any time because there's no chords. You can start your new loop at any time. So press that button again, start the loop. Like by the time the next bar comes around. And then as soon as your chord pattern is done, start singing, start playing, start doing something. Like, you know, once you or if it's an instrumental and you get your 4 chords, and you know you can't be picking already as soon as you press the button. But then once you press the button to loop it, you know, don't just sit there and wait. Like maybe just do like a little like ditty, or just play around with it so that the audience is just not listening to the same thing over and over, because a loop is listening to something over and over and over.
Yeah.
So
and
they've already heard
you're
that.
Not doing anything.
Yeah.
I think that like that Aaron was saying, like a good looper will know that they gotta keep like they can't just pause, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think a good looper, or something that is like, oh shoot, like like you said, like you don't want to like, you know, make anybody feel like, oh, not doing good at looping or whatever. But like I think sometimes people who loop too, like something that they do that bugs me is like they build their entire loop and it's sounding cool, right? And like the momentum is going up and up and up, and then they go like, I'm gonna add a little ambient noise here, and it's like, oh, you just killed all your momentum. Like it should, if you're building up, right?
I just want to hey here somewhere, like with my
they do the thing where they have their volume pedal on guitar, and then they go
even more subtle, like and
it's like it's cool, but maybe you should have put that earlier when you're building the loop, so it just keeps going up, right? Don't put it at the end.
So we talked about, you know, the rhythm. So I might either start with the rhythm, which would be like some kind of percussive thing to keep time, and I chose that because it's really simple, and that'll give me a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll loop that. Or if I need 8, so on and so forth. You need to plan it ahead, of course. So you get that, and once it starts looping, start to begin to add, you know, all your loops already. And the awesome thing is when you use one of these, and I believe it is the same with anyone. As soon as you hit this thing, it'll keep recording, but then it'll just restart the loop, so you can actually start playing something already, you know, on top of it, right?
So like that one, you need to, if you hit it just once, it'll just be played, right?
Yeah, it'll just it'll keep recording. So it'll replay the loop, but the recording won't stop.
I thought that was like for mine, I think at least the boss. Mine is like a generation older than yours. Like if you hit that, it'll just keep playing, and you have to hit it again to add another layer to it.
Yeah, no, this stays on. So there's like the red light for record, red light for green light for play. So at first it'll just have the just have the record light, but once you hit it, the play light goes on, but the record light doesn't go off. Like it stays stays on. Okay, let's talk about layers again. And I have the beat, I have the the strumming pattern. Start singing, start playing, start doing something. And if it's something that's going to be kind of repeating, or if you need more things, like little ditties and whatever, like add those little ditties. And and if that needs to be looped, like I said, if those things, loop that in there already. Let's see, and then just kind of play, because the more complicated the loop is, you don't want to loop complicated things, because it'll just keep playing that same complicated thing over and over, and then it no longer becomes like a complicated thing. So if I'm gonna loop that's not that complicated. And then that's it. Then like loop something else again. But if you're doing something like imagine listening to
yeah, looped over and over. Yeah, it's something that you would want to do just maybe once in the song.
Just once. So like you can always just play and not record stuff. So you can start like doing little ditties and then singing along. You have your beat, you have your strumming pattern. Really, that's all you need as a uke player, unless you're playing solo and you want more and more stuff. But trying to keep it to a minimum as possible would be the best approach, because the more layers that you're adding, the more fake the performance kind of gets. And that is the word that I chose, because it's basically what it is. It's like if you're looping it, you're not actually playing that. It's like you played it and you're looping it, and the machine is kind of doing that, playing those for you, even though you yourself played it first, but then it was just the machine redoing the same riff. So it's like the more fake it sounds, the less like for me, like the less it's about that artist like showing the art or showing the song and stuff. It's more about like the machine kind of showing you like the song.
I think looping has become into a thing where it's like people will think, oh, how complicated can I get with making loops, right? Mm-hmm. But it like originally started as, I don't have somebody to play with. Mm-hmm. So I buy this pedal so I can play it by myself and have somebody or have like this pedal back me up.
In fact, earlier today we were talking about Kirby. Kirby is on Kauai. He's just like he plays with some other people, but when he does his solo gigs, he's probably the smoothest person that I've ever heard use a loop pedal, because you don't notice it. Yeah, like if you're not tuned into it, it just sounds like him.
It's like good music.
Playing by himself, but. But it's like, you'll be talking and you'll be hearing him in the background, and it's like you just realize that.
Right.
Oh, how is he doing that? And you look and he's playing, So what Kirby does is he starts playing the song.
Yeah.
And so
he doesn't even do like, the percussion hits or whatever. He'll just,
So he starts playing a song, and he has the loop pedal connected to his guitar. So he'll just while he's playing the song, he'll loop a section of his guitar that he knows he's gonna need later while he's singing already. And then
save it for later.
And then when he comes to the picking section where he's gonna pick, he starts the loop, and it comes in exactly where he needs it to come in, and he starts playing the thing, and you just kind of realize, if you're a musician, like, how is he doing that, playing the background and the picking at the same time. And you just realize that, oh, he did that earlier when I didn't even expect it. And that was, he doesn't do too much, but he accents his playing with it. And that's probably
it's the most
smoothest.
Effective.
The smoothest use of a loop pedal that I've ever seen. So
the music is just a bunch of patterns. I mean, we've said that before and stuff. Not just the strumming pattern, but also like chord patterns. So if that chord pattern is going to show up again, or if you're going to pick to that chord pattern, or there's some kind of picking in the song that those chords share. Why don't you just record that and just save it? For later.
But you don't have to set aside a specific period of time to just do that. What he's doing is he's doing it on the fly.
It's pretty common for a song to use a verse as a break, right?
Yeah, so the chords for the verse is the same chords for the picking pattern. So while you're singing your verse, that's when he takes those chords and puts it into the loop pedal.
Yeah, or even just he'll loop it for he'll press it for the second verse, because it's gonna share the same chords. Yeah. So that on the second verse it allows him to add little little ditties, just like how I was talking about.
So things like that.
Yeah, you can add things, and it's like, oh man, that sounds complete. It sounds like
he's playing with a couple other people, but it's just him. Yeah, he's
kind of an example of who I think uses that the same way too is John Mayer, right?
Oh.
For slow dancing in a burning room, or for Gravity, right? Like
when he's just playing by himself.
Yeah, and he can actually play the picking part and the strumming part by himself anyways, right?
yeah. But he could do that anyway.
But that's like kind of the thing is his groove is so good that he loops it just so he can be like, oh, I can like kind of like solo and I can have like a little bit more room to add more than if I was just trying to play every single part by myself.
Yeah, yeah, and he does it kind of on the fly in that same way where he's not like, hey, everybody, look at me. Yeah, I stopped it, and now I'm gonna do something else. And then I stopped that. I'm gonna doing more things on top of that. Yeah, it's more like this is the song.
That's definitely like you should have good rhythm and good groove. Yeah,
if you want to loop stuff, definitely.
Or like if you're trying to get into looping, and looping can help with that too, actually. So it's just if you're having a hard time with looping when you first start, that might be what's causing it. It's just like your groove isn't exactly on point or something, you know. Your rhythm is a little off, so try to work
that's
on
another
that.
thing too, is that if you start off slow and during the loop you speed up, when it comes back it's gonna be really
always gonna like slow
jump
speed
back
up
to the slow
speed up slow.
I think you know, watching somebody do loops and stuff, or looping in general, like kind of shows a person's like musical taste, you know, too. Like how Kirby kind of does that. His taste is like, okay, it needs to sound like I'm just playing, you know, like I'm playing by myself. Whereas other people have like, oh no, it needs to sound like this orchestra,
like
or like all full on band thing.
Yeah.
So it's all about like taste too, and it's not. We're not saying that like people who put too much, you know, have bad taste or anything. It's just it's a different taste, you know.
I think like Calais and Aiden, right? They do looping, and they definitely do the thing where it's more about like adding more layers.
And like I mentioned right in the beginning, you know, I would have 12 loops at the end of Yukon a Stick, because that's the kind of song that you know it builds up, you know, to a big finish. So it just depends on what you're trying to do with your, you know, with your loop pedal, but I would say try to keep it as low as possible, you know, the loops as low as possible, and that would give you a kind of normal sounding song. Like it's kind of like you jamming with someone else. Like start off with that, you know, like make yourself sound like you're jamming with one person, you know, with one other person, and they're looping or your loop is them just kind of backing you up, you know. So start off with something like that, and how you can get that kind of sound is if you just loop those chords over and then just replay that up. But the other part to her question is that she was talking about different chords for the verse and the chorus. So like this little pedal right here, you can hold this button for 2 seconds and it'll start up a new track. So what that does is you can always delete the last track that you loop. So if you loop a rhythm pattern, you know, like just like a drum beat and stuff, and then you keep that as one loop, and then you loop, say the verse or something, you're gonna loop that. You can stop that loop and create a new loop and put it in there, but it's complicated with this one. This one is only used really for one kind of loop, but you can if you're good, you know, with the with the stomping and stuff. But there are definitely other pedals, like Boomerang, like has ones that you can kind of set, like, okay, well, for the next 4 bars, or you know, I'm gonna do this or that.
I think the Boss though too, because I have like I was saying I have the older one, and you can't do that. You can't like hit the pedal, but Boss has expansion pedals, kind of where it's just all it does is send the signal that says like, hey, start another loop, you know.
So, there's one that you can attach to this that, like it's just one more pedal, so you have 3 to choose from, and it exactly does what what Kahaya is talking about. And I think there's like a plug-in here,
and there's also one that's longer than this too, right? With multiple.
It's like the big one. That's the one that Calais uses, I believe. He uses a Boss, like big Boss pedal. But you know, the best way to learn and to really kind of understand how loop pedals work is just to try it out for yourself, or watch a bunch of people kind of doing it. We mentioned Calais, is really good. I know Jake, does loop in his in his set too now with Dragon Heartbeat, that kind of thing. Also, like professionals, like big time professionals. I'm not saying that Calais and Jake are professionals, but like people like John Mayer and people like Ed Sheeran, like one of the best loopers that I've ever seen. But definitely, you mentioned Aiden James too. Aiden James, amazing at looping. Carly G, she does a lot of cool like loops as well. So
cool
there's
stuff.
some amazing like artists out there that are doing some cool loops. Chris Salvador, I follow him on Instagram, and he does a lot of cool loops like with his guitar.
Yeah, he's actually really good.
He's
doing,
super good, but just maybe
stuff.
maybe
Daniel,
not playing ukulele too much, but.
In the chat, Daniel said KT Tunstall had a great two-part tutorial video on how she does loops, and she was one of the first
people that I've seen do loops
on YouTube. Yeah, that really got
crazy
popular.
or like that fucking horse song.
Didn't she do like ABC, like Jackson 5? Like I think she did one of their songs as a loop.
Her videos kind of went viral. It was like the first viral videos of like
for looping. Yeah.
Stuff.
KT Tunstall, she spearheaded that thing.
So like Jasmine kind of said like that she wants to get into looping in general, and didn't there actually is, besides pedals, there's actually other things that you can loop with, right?
Yeah.
But pedals are kind of like the most common, because usually people who are looping are playing their instruments with their hands, or they're doing something else, so they need they need to use their feet to hit the start and stop switch. So
but experiment with it, like connect it to your instrument, connect it to your microphone, because as far as loop, you can loop vocals too. It doesn't have to just be your instrument. You can loop vocals as well, and so you can add some harmonies to yourself. But with pedals nowadays, you can make your instrument, and you can get all sorts of different kinds of crazy sounds. There is a pedal that we heard from Magic Mike Odo, is the one that makes you sound like that anime character. What is that?
Oh,
like
Hatsune Miku.
Hatsune Miku.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he was saying that that specific pedal is always sold out.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, every time they make more, like people just buy it, and he's like, it is the dumbest pedal. Like according to Mike,
it's a very specific one trick pedal.
So make yourself sound like an anime character. If you guys haven't seen this, I'm sure like Kira's gonna put like the show notes, and you guys are gonna be like, what is this? Because I was like, what is this? It's basically an anime character who does shows. Well, like I can't explain it anymore. Like she does performances.
Live performances.
Yeah.
Live performances.
It started off as a program that they had an actual person like do all the recording. Yeah, it's like a MIDI kind of thing, and then from there, like people program it to sing for them, basically. And so
I want that pedal so bad. You didn't even know, God. Like I want that pedal so bad.
I forgot about that. I don't even
know why. It's probably expensive, like because it's sold out everywhere. So like they can wrap up the price on that thing, and people still buy it. I'm scared how much it is, but I kind of want it.
Yeah,
I don't think it's. I've seen people use it, and they're like, "Oh, this is fun." But I'm not gonna
use it ever.
I'm not gonna use it. Yeah, it's like not actually usable.
Yeah, for bandits, I'm gonna use the Hatsune Miku pedal.
I have all kinds of instruments that are pretty ridiculous, though. So
just for fun.
That's true.
I can't judge you for any of that.
But
for wanting something that you're never gonna use.
So you just got a theremin, right?
Yeah, I just picked up a theremin.
And I remember showing you guys, like, one of my favorite looping kind of things is a lady connected the theremin to her looper, and so when her loop came back around, she triggered the volume with the theremin, so she would put her hand closer to make the loop get louder, and then pull it back to make it get softer.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then it was a really dynamic performance by doing that. That's kind of like, I think that's what people who are good at looping know to do, is to make the performance dynamic, right?
You're gonna have to make a cover of the Rick and Morty theme with your theremin.
Does it have like a? Yeah,
I think it's on theremin.
The sci-fi kind of sound.
Yeah.
It's a good theme. That's my special request. Special request to use the Rick and Morty theme. So it's a lot of experimentation, a lot of like being really good with rhythm, because if like we were saying, if it rushes, if it slows down, it's going to mess up the loops. So just keep that in mind, that you're looping something that you've done, so you kind of have to do it correctly, because it's gonna have to loop correctly, because if it's done incorrectly, and you're just gonna keep repeating that same mistake.
The mistake that you made.
I think that's on KT Tunstall's like performance, right? she recorded it, and then she's like, "Guys, I gotta re-record because I got too excited when you guys started clapping and I sped up, so I gotta redo it. I'm sorry." But
yeah, so you know, as little layers as possible, unless you're really going for something grand, then you know, go crazy. You know, like no one's gonna tell you that you know you're doing something wrong. It's your own creative, you know, kind of song, and it's your creative outlet to get all these ideas out. But if you're doing it for performance and stuff, and you want it to be kind of seamless, the less loops, the better. But you can always layer the rhythm pattern, the strumming pattern, little you know, little pickings here and there. And if you want to do multiple tracks like chorus and verse, I would suggest getting the pedal for doing things like that, because that's not the kind of, I mean, you can, but it would be super duper hard. Or maybe just get this pedal and get the extension like third, you know, third stomp.
I think, well, I think even then, like, I think most people don't do that. Like, if, you know,
yeah, they just go crazy.
Well, like, they'll just focus on building that loop for whatever the verse or chorus. And then when the part comes that they, you know, need to play something different, they'll just play it live anyways.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's another thing that you can do too, and that kind of what makes it difficult if you add too much layers. So if you're adding too much layers and you're stopping, you know, the verse to play the chorus is going to sound super empty because you don't have all these, you know, like all the little ditties and stuff that you're doing with, you know, with the verse. So try to keep it simple so that if you do have to switch up the chords, you're not like losing a lot of things. Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind also. You know, like we said, we're not like experts at looping or anything, but these are just kind of basics that you should keep in mind. But there's no substitute for actually trying, you know, a looper pedal and, you know, trying out for yourself. There are cheaper ones than this. This is kind of expensive, I believe. I bought this for $250.
Yeah,
it's an expensive pedal.
They do have loopers where it's just a tiny thing with one button on.
Yeah, so there's cheaper ones you can just kind of try.
If you have a smartphone, they have free looping apps, which is not like
tap with your toe.
Well, or you can I don't know when I have to
tap it.
When I have to build a loop and I have to use my hand, because I'll use like programs on my computer to do the same thing. I just count the beat first, right? So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, tap it, and then I just play it that next. Well, it's a layer of emptiness, but it has my rhythm there basically, and then I just fill that next part. So that's kind of like how you can do it.
There's you know, things that you can try. It doesn't have to be this specific pedal or the big ones or whatever. You can like kind of just try it out with the small, maybe $50 or something like that for a tiny one with just the one button. But really, you know, really learn it. And I would suggest for people that want to get better at the ukulele, just get that tiny one in general, because you can use it to practice, or you know, because you can like record, you can loop stuff, and you can kind of like practice your scales, practice your improvisation, practice like, you know, phrases and stuff and phrasing. So even if you're not into doing loops and whatever, I think a looper is a great tool just as an educational tool. You know, you can teach yourself and get better at certain parts of the song.
You suggest people use like their phone memos, right?
Yeah.
Like,
the voice memo.
Yeah, just built in. And like, or when people are like, "Oh, I'm trying to learn Europa," you tell them like, "Oh, record yourself playing the strumming first with the voice memo."
3 minutes straight, you know, just doing the chords. But then if you had a loop pedal, you can just record the chord pattern one time, just loop that. You can practice Europa as much as you want, like 10, 15, 20. Heck, play for an entire hour if you want to play for an entire hour. So, you know, there's no substitute for trying it. I would suggest you try it.
Going back to that looper is kind of expensive because you can actually do multiple like different layers, or you can take off layers, and you can
so there's 2 tracks, so you can like put the volume of one track in there.
Yeah. So there's more features, and then the one that is like $50 is kind of just more bare bones. We'll just focus on one track and then just repeating that over and over.
Yeah, and this one like has a mic jack, so you can not just put your instrument in, but you can also put your microphone in. So that's kind of what makes this one a little bit pricey. So you can loop using microphone or a 1/4-inch jack into this. and like we were saying, the track 1 and track 2 is adjustable. So if you want to make, like your rhythm track, track 1, and then switch over to track 2, and have that loop be a little bit louder, you can do that as well. And there's also effects. So if you press I believe the left side twice, it'll do an effect which would just bend down. So the first one is bend down. There's a step phase, there's a sweep filter, and there's a tempo delay. There's all these things you can add. That I use bend down to end songs, like, so it just goes and then stop it. Stop it. That's how I end. Forgot what song I use that for, but I use this pedal for only a few songs, and I actually bought this pedal for my very first Czech Republic show, because they could only bring me up and they couldn't bring Aaron up. So I'm like, okay, well, this will be Aaron, I guess. Like paying $230 for replacement Aaron, like, which is whatever, and I had to like learn it that week in order to how to use it. I don't even know how to use this thing, and I still don't, because I'd rather have them just fly up Aaron, and I won't have to like learn learn new loops for those songs that I want to do.
Even though there's like people who are really good at looping, I never think it's like a replacement for like
for an actual human like playing for you. No, definitely not. Yeah, definitely not. Okay, that was a long discussion on looping. I know not a lot of people are gonna even try to loop. So
before we totally get off though, Renee asks, so can you record a loop before you get on stage, and do you plug the pedal straight into a uke and then a speaker?
So your ukulele plugs into, I'll answer that first. Your ukulele plugs into this, which it goes into the instrument in, and then there's an output where that 1/4 inch goes to the speaker, okay, or the amp, or a mixer, or whatever whatever you usually plug into. So you can do, so this works just like a normal pedal where you connect to this, and this connects to the thing. You can also connect your microphone to this, so on and so forth. You can have like the mic volume and adjust it, adjust it here. So this only controls the XLR, whereas everything else, you can just control it with your ukulele, or with the side pedal, or with the DI. Anyway, so as far as looping stuff, this particular model you can. So right here is memory. It stores up to 99 tracks that you can store into this. You can choose up or down or whatever. So you can record a loop and you can save it. Okay, so you can save the loop into whichever. Say like I'm gonna save it into 01. So I'll play the loop, and then I'll click on write, and then it'll just write it on that particular track. So every time I go to that track and I press play, it'll just play that track. So, yes, you can. So you can have like you can record an entire set and just have like pre-done.
Does it come with a memory card?
No, it doesn't have. It doesn't need to. It just
in memory. If you lose,
if you lose this,
if it loses the memory, then you're
done.
Yeah,
you do it again.
Yeah, that's why. But that's what I'm saying is I don't. You wouldn't want to store things that are like really complicated that you would have to do for a show, just in case like you plug it in and maybe it doesn't work. That's your whole show.
Well, that's the thing with other loopers is that the memory only lasts until the power in it keeps going, right?
Yeah.
So once you if you unplug it, then it'll just wipe the entire thing, and then you plug it back in, and it's not going to be there. So it really depends on what pedal you get, or what you're looking at. Read if it has that feature to save stuff.
Yoda's saying that a looper has no passion. The thing is, that's false, because it's all in you. Whatever you put in. If you put in passion into whatever you loop, then yes, it's gonna be loop passion. That repeated passion over and over again. So if you played it with no passion, it'll repeat it with no passion. So not necessarily. I mean, it is a robot and stuff, but at the same time, it's you. Still playing that. So
you are the heart of the robot.
You're the heart of the robot.
Okay. She's asking if there's a screen. There's a.
There is. So let me see. You can see it. That's all. Plug this in. So, I guess it'll be out. There it is. So here it is. Ooh, look at the bright lights. So memory 1, you can go to, it goes all the way up to 99. If you loop something and you click on write, it'll just write it into that, or you can delete it if you want to delete it. So I delete 1, so on and so forth. But it'll basically, once you write it into this memory, it just stays there.
Yeah. It's not a full screen. It's just kind of like a number, just number screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's one that I have. It's a little pricey, but I mean the big one I think is like $500-$600 or something for like the big board kind of pedal. I think a boomerang is like $500.
Yeah. And I think that's like the industry standard. Like a lot of musicians use that.
Yeah, this is just for like solo gigging musicians that just want, just want somebody to back them up. But I think Aiden, like, he uses the big Boss one with like a bunch of other pedals. So he has that big Boss pedal with a bunch of other stuff. If you guys want to see some good ukulele looping, check out Aiden James. He's really good.
Yeah. Digitech also makes a pretty good one. And then, what is it? TC Helicon. They make a pretty good one too.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the OG one, I think, is Boomerang. Because I saw an old... who's that bass player for Bela Fleck?
Victor Wooten.
Victor Wooten. I saw Victor Wooten back when I was like in high school, or maybe even middle school. Like my band teacher, Mr. Yukimura, he was like showing us this video of him just like looping something. He's just like jamming to it. And Victor Wootening it up, like... And I was like, wow, what is that thing? It's like, it's a boomerang. It's like a couple $1,000s, I guess, at the time, I'm like, oh, never mind.
New technology.
Because I saw that, I'm like, man, I could just play chords with my ukulele, and I'd do that. I'm like, my uke, that now.
I think that's one of the things, too, is like, the looper really, if you're a good musician, the looper will make it sound even more impressive, right? Like, you can make it sound better. And if you're like not as good,
it'll magnify
how
good or terrible you are.
I was like, oh, that there's an extra beat there when it really shouldn't, I know John Mayer, he made a loop and he's like, oh, I missed the one. Oh well, I'm gonna play without it. So he played like, it's like, what? How can you do that? But that just shows like how good he is, right?
Any other questions that we have?
Andrew asked at the beginning of the show. He asked, is there any advantage to having a slotted headstock, or is that purely cosmetic?
It's purely aesthetic, I believe. But there is the string travel is going to be different. I don't know how to like kind of explain it any other way. The string travel. So when you have ukuleles that are like this, that are either the gear tuners that are like the outside, or like the tuners that, what are those? The non-geared ones. Friction tuners, or even ones that look like friction. As you notice, the string's gonna travel. It goes from down here, it's gonna go up here, and with that, it's gonna twist this way. So my string is doing. Sorry. To the close up. So it's gonna travel from down here, right? It's going straight. It's going up my ukulele. And then now it's traveling to the side. It goes sideways.
This way.
Oh, maybe like that. Okay,
so from, they can see
so from here,
what direction
it goes up, and it goes to the side to loop. Does that make sense? Now with a slotted headstock, it goes from here, then it goes up here, then it goes this way instead. So it goes down. It goes down. So the string is not being it. So at a certain point. On this ukulele, because it's not slotted headstock, it's gonna twist because it has to loop, like around this pole, or this tuner, this tuner. It's gonna have to loop this way, whereas a slotted headstock loops this way.
Like
it's hard to explain.
Yeah, it's still in the same direction, but
then it's kind of going down.
Yeah,
it's going down like this
into the headstock.
Yeah, into the headstock.
Yeah,
which is the same direction because this goes in to the into the bridge. So it goes into the bridge, and then this part goes into the headstock. So some people believe that like the string travel is a little bit better, therefore you get a better response from your strings because it's not slightly like tilted. But I don't really believe it makes that much of a difference, but
yeah. Also, it kind of has to do with instrument building.
True.
Because So like for a regular neck and headstock, because you need the string to lay on your nut, you need some kind of relief. Like the head needs some kind of relief in order to keep the string tight onto the nut. So with a slotted headstock, you can keep the head kind of in line with the neck, and then the relief happens because the string is going into the head. So you can build a straighter neck with a slotted headstock, and it doesn't need as much of a because
the relief.
kind of show.
You kind of see it kind of bend down.
Yeah, so like here the neck is one plane, and then it kind of has to go down. Like your head has to kind of bend back a little. So with a slotted headstock, you don't need as much of that relief or at all. If you don't want it, and that's kind of some people were talking about flukes. Flukes and Fleas by Flea Market Music.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of straight.
That's the reason why they built that into it, is because their necks are made out of like a ply, and they didn't want to have to cut it. So like
it bends.
Yeah, so with this, with a traditional headstock, you have to, for instrument building, you'll have to cut it in order to make the head and flip it so that it creates that relief, and you have to glue those together and make sure that that's solid. And so I guess Jim Beloff and Dale Webb, when they were designing the fluke, they didn't want to have to do that. They wanted to have the limited number of steps as possible. So they just did a straight neck, and then they decided to do a slotted headstock because that would eliminate one step in the building process. So
and some people are saying that it takes like some of the weight out of it. I mean, yes, but I mean, you're adding weight first in order to create the slot, so not really at the end, because this, I believe, this headstock is lighter than the slotted headstock that I have, because slotted headstock, you would have it kind of fat, like a fat piece of block of wood, and then you have the slot part in there, because it has to compensate, because the tuners are going to be on the side. So the tuners have to be this, are this thick, so you have to compensate for that much thickness on the side. Whereas the this one can go as skinny, as not as possible, but as much as it can support the neck of the ukulele.
Yeah.
So with slotted headstocks, they're not necessarily lighter, on the top end. I believe they're actually heavier in the top, but that might be good too, because I believe that most ukes are bottom heavy, so if you add a little bit more weight to the top, it balances out the uke. Therefore, you get a better sustain from the ukulele. Because when you strum the uke, if it's all being concentrated on one end, it's only going to ring out from that end. Whereas if both sides are kind of equal, it will kind of find that place, and it'll ring out a little bit longer. That's why they have what's called like the what do they call those? I used to have those on my applause, the fat finger. Fat finger for guitars and for basses and stuff. It just basically adds extra weight to the side to balance out the the instrument, making it ring out a little bit longer. I remember I had to
what did you use it on?
With this one, the applause. And I used to use it on, definitely the applause, because the bottom was super heavy, I also used it on the Lumanogs that I had and stuff, and I used it on the Kabaka that I had, but then I just kind of stopped using it. But Fat Fingers, they don't make it anymore, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they stopped kind of making it. But
so
Musician's Friend has it.
Oh, it's not the same. It's like different now. I remember I had to look all over for it, because I didn't know. I just remembered watching this ukulele special where it was like Jake, it was Kelly Boy, and it was Peter Moon, like the three of them. I don't know what it's called. I want to know. I want to remember. I can't remember. It's those three, and Jake had this thing on his headstock, and I watched it. I was like, what is that thing? Is that like a camera, so that like they can kind of show his but I was like, it never cuts to a to an angle of his ukulele like that. So I was like, it's not a camera, and it's too small what is that, and I just ended up I'm lucky enough to just be like calling him. I'm like, what is that thing on your headstock? I was trying to figure it out. He's like, oh, it's called a Fat Finger. I'm like, where can I get that? Because I want to be just like you.
I want everything you have.
I want everything that you have. But yeah, I put it on because at that time I was playing an applause, right? I was playing that particular, that applause right there, and it really did make a difference because that applause is terrible at sustain. So it gave me more sustain, it gave me a better sound. I don't know.
Or it could have been placebo.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
You just end up
Caffeine
like
pills.
sustaining
So
the note
excited.
for longer.
Yeah,
Like,
you just hold it. Sustain it more.
Sounds good. Sounds just like it. Sounds just like that. Sounds just like Jake.
So kind of back to the question.
Yeah.
It's I feel like for a player, a slotted headstock is mostly aesthetic, or but then for a builder, that definitely factors into how you're gonna build your instrument and what goes into the building process.
The things that people have said, like, oh, it'll improve this or that, you haven't really seen that much with.
No, I mean string travel, yes, I definitely have seen the string travel, but as far as if it makes a difference in my sound and stuff, no.
Sound or playability or anything, it's usually if it's like if it comes to that, there's other things on the ukulele that'll affect it more, right?
Way more.
So
it's so minute that I don't notice it. So take that with a grain of salt, because there's definitely some people who are like, no,
they swear by it.
Yeah, they swear by it. But it's just I have both, and I maybe my ears are just not that good, but that's up for debate also. My ears are not bad. Okay, so let's tackle one more. We got time for one more.
Okay.
And then let's give away this thing.
Yeah.
We got to do that. So one really quick one.
Okay. Hopefully we can. Okay. What would you suggest to do to practice and improve grooving?
Ooh, I mean, other than loops and stuff, grooving, I would suggest practicing with the album, with the actual recording, so that you can kind of mimic their grooves. So mimicking grooves is the best way to learn grooves, because once you kind of get the feel, you can do it for yourself later, or jam with a bunch of other people, because other people have grooves also. So if you jam with someone, that's like you have to kind of mesh together like both grooves. So it's good to kind of learn it that way. But my best suggestion would be to jam along with records and albums and stuff. That would be the best way to get grooves.
Listen to I guess groups that really kind of have what you're looking for.
Tight,
yeah, something that really tight sense of meshing together and grooving together, and then just listen to the heck out of them.
Because everybody does have like a little bit of a different groove, right? With people, it usually is like, even with professional musicians or musicians who are incredible. Like I heard Questlove, he's like, oh, when I heard Jay Dilla's groove, like I knew I had to try and play like that. It was like so crazy to me that I like stopped and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, like how would you even define groove? Because
it's like the feel of of the song, like when there's certain rises and falls in the feeling, in the beats, in the rhythm of of a tune
at different
times. So I believe that's my own personal definition.
Because say like your BPM or your tempo is like kind of, if you were to go by the metronome, it's like exactly the same every time.
But that would be super robotic.
Yeah, so the groove is kind of like
a human component,
a human variation on that. It's like it stays pretty close to that BPM and the speed of it, but you have how would you kind of?
That's what I feel.
It's kind of like a natural variation. So sometimes
fast,
it's
some
faster,
slow,
sometimes it's slower.
But still kind of on.
But pretty close. But then it's it's
if
a
it's
combination
perfect,
of everything that makes it into the groove. So.
Right? Because if it's perfect, then it sounds like it doesn't sound good. I believe it's if it's too perfect, you have to have groove in order for it to feel human.
You can, like when you hear quantized music, it's like, oh, that is very obvious. That's Like somebody just said, hit a button, and I was like,
Yeah.
everything is gonna line up, and everything is gonna hit that
Yeah.
same beat at the same time.
And it's kind of
plug in.
like what you were saying about playing with
Yeah.
other people.
Mhm.
It's like your groove changes depending on who you're playing with.
Mhm.
So it's kind of that
Or
you need to play with multiple people in order to find your own groove almost.
I
You
think-
know? It's like a
I think the hope, right, like, is that you do adjust well with other people when
Yeah.
you're grooving. Because if you can't groove with other people, like, that's the thing too, where it's just like you're gonna notice like, I'm not meshing with them.
Yeah.
Something isn't lining up.
Then you're not grooving with people. Groove is very, when people say like, oh, this is spiritual, it's like, it's almost that. And really, it's just by feel. Like it's like very human thing,
Yeah. And it's almost like music is meant to be played with other people. Like it's like it does. You can create your own music, and it could exist in a vacuum, but it almost becomes more when you are able to share it and play it with other people. We did like an interview with James Hill a while ago on the podcast. You can still kind of find it if you search on Ukulele Underground, but he talks about that because we brought up his first funk album his elusive funk album where he played everything. He came up with the songs,
he even did the
recorded
album
he did the album art, he did everything himself. And then he kind of talks about that where like it's kind of that was him at a specific point in time.
What was the title of the album? Something
The People versus
the People
Funk.
versus the Funk.
You have one of those, eh?
I have a copy.
Yeah.
But
That is awesome.
I'm one of the lucky ones because it's really hard to find right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to cut it off and stuff, but we gotta we gotta get going. So we want to give away this CD that we talked about last time. Is there anything else we're adding to the CD or just the CD?
Up to you. I don't know, whatever you want to give away.
I don't know what I said. Like last week because we were totally here. So this is that Bandito Tyler album that we were talking about last week, and we're going to give this away. The conditions were email us something.
Gimme.
Yeah.
It was just because like you're like, oh, Aaron, what should we do? And he's like,
Say gimme.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so we got all these people that right now you're gonna see them. So spin that wheel to see who gets it. Robert W, congratulations. You're winning yourself a copy of Bandito Tyler, my third full-length studio album. I'm gonna add some Aldi Club stickers, Ukulele Underground stickers, and an Aldi Club button to it. So those are also elusive. You can get those. Bam, that's it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to Thursday Live Lessons. Tomorrow we're going to be doing our 100th episode of Aloha Friday Live Jams. We're going to have a special guest. We're just going to be jamming. It's going to have a special start time of 12:30. So 12:30 p.m. as opposed to our usual time of 1 p.m. We're actually extending the show for half an hour longer so we can jam a little bit more for you guys. But we'll have some guests. We'll have a guest. I don't know, maybe two people. Maybe Mike can
we
can come down and stuff.
Well, we talked
maybe
about
Ryan can pop in, or something.
We talked about our very special guest, right? That we haven't had.
Oh yeah. He's definitely coming, right? Someone booked him, right?
I think
I saw him last week
with his manager.
Didn't we?
Yeah, I saw him last week. He was at the show last week. He was at the performance.
We had to put down like a $5,000 deposit, right?
Yes.
Like just to get It's a
yes.
He'll be there. He'll be there.
I
We'll make sure.
We can't guarantee that he'll do anything, but
he'll show up.
He'll make an appearance.
Yeah. According to his contract, he has to at least show up, right? It doesn't say that
he might still be like a diva. And
I know.
Like just,
I mean, it's unfortunate because in the beginning he was.
But people still love him, so
he was all about Ukulele on the Ground. He was showing us his house and stuff, like his house with his metal grating. And he used to be such a cool guy. He used to do car sing-alongs, but now he's just
got too big for his britches.
But you know what? I better shut up already because he listens.
He might not.
He might hear it and be like, get
what? Offended.
Screw those guys. So tomorrow is the 100th episode of Aloha Friday Live Jams. We're gonna be giving away an ukulele.
Yeah,
we're gonna be giving away one Islander ukulele tomorrow, so that's gonna be awesome. So if you guys want to win yourself a free uke,
Yeah, we're gonna make the contest where you have to watch live.
Yes.
To be able to enter. So
yeah. We will only
Be
accept
sure to-
entries
Yeah.
between 12:30 p.m. and 2 p.m. tomorrow. But next week we're gonna start to do the Songs Made Easy Jam. So that's going to be at, I believe, at 12 to 12:45, and then 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So that's an hour before. That's a bunch of the songs and the Songs Made Easy. Speaking of which, Songs Made Easy right after this, so stick around. Keep it locked in here at Ukulele Underground. After that, we have one-on-one coaching. So if you want to participate and ask your questions to me, that's going to be happening at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, all the way up until everyone gets their questions answered and stuff. Usually till about 4 o'clock. Okay, so we'll see you guys next time. Have a great one. Aloha.